Here's something nobody in Houston real estate space is talking about right now. While every headline is calling Katy a cooling market, something quietly happened in the data that tells a completely different story. Inventory moved, specific price bands tightened, and a certain type of buyer stepped in while everyone else was distracted by the noise. I have been watching this market closely, and what I'm seeing underneath the surface is not really a slowdown. To me, it is a setup, the kind that rewards people who actually understand what the numbers are saying. And if you're thinking about buying or selling in Katy, Texas in 2026, you need to see what I'm looking at, because the opportunity here is not obvious. And that is exactly why it is still here. Hi, and welcome back. I'm Natasha Carroll, your Houston area real estate expert covering Katy, Cypress, Richmond, Spring, Memorial, the Heights. This channel is where we skip the headlines and go straight into the data that actually moves the needles for buyers and sellers. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button so you never miss a local update. Now, let's get into what the Katy market is really doing in 2026. Let's start with the most important number, the median home price. As of early 2026, the median sold price in Katy, Texas is sitting around that $340,000 to $355,000 range, depending on a specific zip code. That is the modest softening from the peak of the highs of 2022. But it is nowhere near a free fall. What you're seeing is a market finding its natural equilibrium after 2 years, I would say, of abnormal appreciation. Here is what that actually means for you. If you bought a home in Katy in 2020 or 2021, you're still sitting on a substantial equity. If you're a buyer coming in today, you have more negotiating power than the buyers had in 2022, when homes were going 10 to 15 offers over asking with zero contingencies. Days on market in the greater Katy area have stretched to roughly 45 to 60 days in some segmented areas. That is a meaningful shift. Sellers priced aggressively in 2021 are now adjusting, and that is creating real opportunities for buyers who are prepared for the market. The market is not broken, so don't assume that. It is balancing and have balance. And balanced markets are actually where the smartest real estate decisions get made. Now, you cannot talk about the 2026 housing market without talking about rates, because rates are the reason inventory and the buyer behavior, I would say, look the way it does. 30-year fixed mortgage rates in the early 2026 are hovering around the mid to upper 6% range. That is meaningfully higher than that 3% era. And yes, it has cooled demand compared to 2021. But here's what most people get wrong. Higher rates don't always mean lower prices in a supply-constrained market. Katy has a unique dynamic. New construction is still actively competing with resale, which is putting downward pressure, I would say, on certain price points. But demand from corporate relocations, particularly from the energy corridor, keeps a baseline of qualified buyers consistently entering the market. The smart move right now is to focus on your payment, not just the rate. A $350,000 home at 6.75% is very manageable at today's income level, particularly in Katy, where the median household income consistently tracks above the national average per U.S. Census Bureau data. So here is where we stand. Prices have softened, but they have not collapsed. Rates are elevated, but demand in Katy is structurally supported in ways that most markets are not. We have already covered the price landscape and the rate environment, two of the biggest forces shaping the market right now. But we still need to talk about the inventory situation, what new construction is doing to resale values, and the one neighborhood level trend that could could make or break your purchase decision in 2026. Before we get there, if you're seriously considering a move to Katy or the greater Houston area, I put together a free relocation guide that breaks down the best neighborhoods, the top rated, I would say, schools, and the cost of living comparisons. It is the same resource I share with many of my private clients, and you can grab it for free using the link in the description box below. Okay, now let's keep going. Here's the thing nobody is talking about clearly enough. Inventory in Katy is rising, but it is rising unevenly, I would say. Active listings across greater Katy area, they have increased year over year, reflecting a broader Texas pattern where more sellers are testing the market. But what inventory is heavily concentrated, I would say, in two spots. New construction, where communities like Ellison, Cane Island, and the Cinco Ranch extension neighborhoods, and older resale homes in the $400,000 plus range that are overpriced at the peak. Entry-level inventory, meaning homes priced under $320,000, is still extremely tight. According to NAR, the national housing shortage remains in the millions of units, and the affordable inventory in high-demand suburbs like Katy reflects that pressure locally. What this means particularly, if you're shopping in that sweet spot, I would call it, below $325,000, you gotta expect competition. And if you're shopping between $400,000 and $500,000, expect leverage. The market is not one number. It is two completely different buying environments sitting right next to each other. Keep that in mind. This one is more of a nuisance than people realize. Builders in Katy's are still offering incentives, rate buy-downs, closing cost contribution, design center credits. More than 60% of the builders nationally reported offering some form of incentive in late 2025 and into 2026 to move their inventory. That is genuinely good news for buyers, of course. But here's the catch. If you buy a new build in an expanding master plan community, you're not just buying a house. You're also buying into a neighborhood that has still years of new construction around it, which reflects resale value in short term, not in long term. So for resale buyers, the competition, I would say, from the builder incentives, it's real and it's testing the sellers. Sellers of existing homes need to price strategically and offer conditions and concessions that builders simply cannot. A well-maintained 2018 home in a fully built-out section of Cinco Ranch will often outperform a brand new home in a community that will not be able to complete until 2028. Location within the community matters as much as the home itself. Here is one that ties everything together, and it is the number most home buyers do not ask about until, I would say, it's too late. And then the numbers start to kick in. Property taxes themselves is something everyone should pay attention to. This is why I said at the top that a misleading, this market can cost you money. Because if you look at a home in the $350,000 range in Katy and you only see the list price, you're actually missing a part of the real cost of ownership, which is the piece that's most important. Texas has no state income tax, but it compensates for that with some of the highest property taxes in the country. In Katy and the surrounding Fort Bend areas and Harris County areas, effective property tax rates, I would say they range from 2.1% to 2.8%, depending on your MUD district. On a $350,000 home, that is $7,350 to $980 per year in property taxes alone. That number directly affects your monthly payment, your buying power, and your long-term investment math. So you have to keep up with it. The good news is that Texas homestead exemption can reduce your taxable value, and if you're buying in a community with a lower MUD rate, that difference over years, it can be substantial. substantial. That is why I always tell my clients, do not just compare the list price in Katy. Compare the total carrying cost. That is what reveals the real value. And that is what the clickbait headlines, they never tell you. So yes, you could be getting a great interest rate, but your tax rate could be 3.4, 3.5%. So in Katy, Texas in 2026, it is a market that rewards the prepared and punishes, I would say, the passive. Prices have normalized from peak highs to around the mid 300s, giving buyers real negotiating room that did not exist 2 years ago. Mortgage rates in the mid to upper 6% range have cooled some demand, but Katy's structural advantages, steady corporate relocation, their top tier schools, and their master plan infrastructure, it keeps one of the most resilient suburbs in the entire Houston metro. Inventory is rising in some segments and tight in others, which means your strategy, it has to match the price band you're shopping in. New construction incentives, they're real, but they come with trade-offs in the community's maturity. And property taxes remain the most underestimated number in every Katy transaction. Understand all 5 of these layers, and you will make a move you feel confident about for years to come. So it's something you must pay attention to. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in Katy in 2026, and you want someone who actually knows this market street by street, I would love to connect with you. My contact information is in the description box below. You can also text me, you can email me, you can call me, whatever is easy for you, of course. And don't forget to grab the free relocation guide while you're down there. It maps out the neighborhoods, the schools, and everything else you need to make a smart decision from day one, not after you've signed the contract. So if you want to keep learning more, check out my video on the best neighborhoods in Katy, Texas. It pairs perfectly with everything we just covered. Yeah, I'm Natasha Carroll, of course. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.